Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Welcome. Thank you for joining us on another episode of CanSportsOne Hour. I am Mark Adam. Joining me is my partner in crime, Narv Mulchand. I don't know what that means, but all right. Narv, want to give our special thanks to our sponsors today.
Yes, the CanSportsOne Foundation, helping kids play organized sports. New Spades Sound Ent Entertainment, bringing the noise. A Little Pizza Heaven, the best pizza this side of heaven.
It was Thanksgiving this past weekend. For those tuning in, you saw just a second ago a very adorable little kid saying that happy Thanksgiving to you. That's actually my daughter, Amelia, who is absolutely the cutest thing ever. As a dad, I get to gush a little bit.
Of course.
So it was Thanksgiving this weekend. Did you do anything to celebrate, Nerv?
Just spent the holiday with the family, and that was about it. Of course, indulged in the traditional turkey, cranberry, and the stuffing that you would probably find in everyone's household.
Fair.
So other
Fair.
than that, nothing really other than the family festivities.
I ended up getting tricked into a vegan Thanksgiving. I was invited to. I don't have any family in Winnipeg where I live, so I got invited by my boss at one of the jobs I have, and she there was supposed to be a turkey. Something happened, and the turkey didn't end up getting made. So it ended up being this big vegan Thanksgiving dinner. So I feel like I was a little bit tricked, but it was fine. It was actually surprisingly delicious, I'm gonna say.
Okay. Well,
Anyway, let's move on. Our top story today.
top story today, Mark. Should the Brandon Wheat Kings move to Winnipeg and have the Manitoba Moose relocate to the Keystone Center? Mark, what are your thoughts?
I like that idea. We sort of brainstormed it a little bit the other day, thinking about the logistics of it. Is that a thing we should do? I think it's an everybody wins scenario.
You were talking about the economics of it.
Well, I think based on the fact that you have two professional teams in one city, and you have a CHL team like just 2 hours down the road, why not move the CHL team here, move the AHL team to Brandon. Brandon gets a professional sports league there. They're not completely removed from their CHL team. It's only a little bit down the road. And at the end of the day, it's a more affordable event when you go see the Brandon Wheat Kings here. So people who have to fight off, do I get Jets tickets or do I get Moose tickets, because both are not necessarily as easy. It is an easier choice to say, hey, let's go check out the Brandon Wheat Kings. Let's go check out the next NHLers before they make the NHL. And as you know, and we talked about before on the show, I'm from Halifax. I'm from a CHL town, where having the ability to go and watch Nikolai Ehlers play on a line with Jonathan Drouin and Marty Firk on the point or on the wing there, like watching that power play happen, watching the Memorial Cup winners, Nathan McKinnon rolled through there with Jonathan Drouin at the same time, that like it was huge for us, and I think if you move the AHL to Brandon, you have professional hockey there. You can sell more tickets. It's better for the Keystone Center. It's better for the people of Brandon to have like a higher level of hockey there. They're not removed completely from their CHL team, as I said, because it isn't that far to drive the 2 hours if you want to go see a game once in a while. So, you're going to obviously lose your season ticket holders from Brandon, but you'll probably pick them up here. I think I think the economics of it work pretty well.
I have to agree. I mean, we have a 50,000, just under 50,000 population there in Brandon, which don't have any problem selling out the Keystone Center for the Brandon Wheat Kings. Now, you were saying something that tickets max out at $25.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's the AHL tickets are already affordable. So, I mean, moving it to a place like Brandon doesn't mean that it can't be affordable. And when you have an average attendance of 5,600 or so, right? Like, which is higher than the what's the Keystone Center hold?
I'll pull that
55,
up right now.
I believe.
Around that, yes.
Somewhere in there. So I mean, you could have sellouts to the AHL games, and then bring the CHL team here. Right? I mean, so in Brandon you have, they're getting attendance for the CHL games of 43-ish.
Yeah, and the max capacity at the Keystone Center is 5,100. The economics there, I just can't. I can't challenge you on that at all.
Well, I just think it works. I think it's something, and outside of the economics, I think it's something that Brandon gets professional hockey, and Winnipeg gets. Doesn't have to support another professional hockey team. Call-ups from the Moose still don't take. They can still, if somebody goes down to morning practice, someone can still be here from the Moose that afternoon.
Not that won't be an issue at all.
Right? It isn't like you're recalling them from Newfoundland where they were before, or you know what I mean, where it would take days.
And that was the main reason they moved the AHL affiliate back to Winnipeg.
I think if you put them in Brandon, move the Wheat Kings here, whether it happens or not
Brandon will go crazy, and I think that
the hardcore CHL fans are all the hardcore Moose fans are going to go nuts.
And Brandon Wheat Kings will have no problem still drawing attention here in the city of Winnipeg.
No, absolutely not.
So it works all the way around. There's money to be made in both cities for both of those teams, but then again, it's not our money. We're not on the management.
Yeah. You know what I mean. At the end of the day, I'm not shelling out the money it'll take to rebrand and move and da da da. But I don't know. I just think. If you're thinking like how this would work logically, I mean, I think that works for everybody. I think you get more attendance to the CHL games because if you put them in Winnipeg, more people will go. I think you get more attendance. Well, not more attendance, but you get like sellout crowds, a much more excited arena. Because I mean that's an average of whatever their thing was, 56 or whatever.
5,100.
No, that's the capacity. Yeah. But if you can sell that out every single game for an AHL team, that's something.
That's fantastic.
Because I mean, when you go to the thing is when you go see the Moose at the Bell MTS place, they've got the whole top curtained off. It just looks like an empty place, even though there's a lot of people there. And if you move it to a smaller venue, that same number of people can go almost. It does create a little bit more of a pressure to get those tickets in advance and things like that. Creates more hype that way. But I think the stadium feels full, and it's always more exciting to play in a full stadium.
And that's always a case of adrenaline for the players. They feel a little bit more in tune with the game. They're like, okay, well, it's time to show up here.
Absolutely. I think that works for both the professionals, and then you get more attendance for those CHL games. When you're talking about the future prospects and things coming through the system, all those players in the WHL coming to Winnipeg to play, I think there's more exposure for them. I think you sell more tickets. I just do. But that's the way I look at it, and I'm not running the show for any of those three organizations. So that's a personal opinion.
But it's a nice topic to touch base on, and it's just a really nice thing to think about too, because it works.
I mean, if you can get it to work, which I really think it could, I think everybody wins is the thing. Like the fans win because they get professional hockey in Brandon. They're not removed from their CHL team. I think the CHL people. I think there's a lot of people in Winnipeg who would love to see more CHL hockey, love to see more prospects playing, right?
And guys who are going to move on to the next step and say, hey, I saw this guy play when he was just. And the WHL is literally players get drafted after that.
Yeah,
so
that's where they're the feeder league for the NHL in Canada. They are the top level of hockey you can play. That is where you figure out, am I an NHLer or not? And for Winnipeg people to be able to go to Bell MTS Place or whatever stadium you put them in, I would think Bell MTS Place because you're going to outsell any other stadium that exists in Winnipeg. So you put them in the Bell MTS Center or Bell MTS Place, and I think you have a winning combination of things, and then tickets to the Jets become even more coveted because there isn't even the backup of the professional Moose unless you want to go to Brandon. So I think everybody wins. I think more people will want to see Jets games in Winnipeg. I think more people will watch CHL here in Winnipeg than they will in Brandon, just based on population. I think the AHL will do really well in Brandon, and your recall time for players. Those are the recap of the points.
And you wouldn't have to change the team name at all to
You
Brandon
could
because
Manitoba
it's already
Moose.
the Manitoba Moose.
You would have to change the Brandon Wheat Kings name. Would they be
Yes,
the Winnipeg
the
Wheat Kings? A bit of alliteration there. That kind of works.
Has a good ring to it.
Yeah. I think that there's absolutely an opportunity to do that here in Manitoba. I think swapping those around is something that could be done. So let's get away from some local stuff. Let's talk about something we haven't talked about on the show yet, based solely on time: MLB baseball.
Well, we're right in the swing of the postseason.
Yeah, absolutely. We touched
really in the gist of things right now, Mark. I mean, tonight there is only one game today. We have the Cubs and the Nationals in Game 5. First pitch is scheduled for 7:08 p.m. Yesterday, the Cubs fell 5-0 in Game 4 to the Nationals. So they're going to look to really want to bounce back in Game 5. This could be a pivotal matchup for them.
Yeah, and that's tonight at 7 o'clock our time, 8 Eastern.
80.
So.
That's correct.
Yeah. So you're going to want to watch that game, the Cubs and the Nationals, the Expos.
The that? That's good. Hey, that's good. Yankees took over the Cleveland Indians yesterday 5-2 in Game 5 of their series matchup. So I have a feeling the Yankees are probably going to cruise to the next round and put away the Indians no problem. They took care of the Minnesota Twins in that series, or was it just that was just one game that they had played the Minnesota Twins in, right? So they had no problem with them there. So
well, yeah, I mean, but Houston and the Yankees are set to meet on Friday, tomorrow. That's again 8 Eastern, so 7 o'clock Central. That's a game that I think a lot of people are looking forward to. Houston looking really good, and everybody wants to watch whether or not Aaron Judge is going to knock out like 6 more homers.
Yes, I'm
in
sorry.
that series.
I just wanted to apologize to the viewers for that. Yeah, because like the Cleveland Indians now, that series is over as the Yankees finished that one in 5 games. So they're up next now against the Astros, as you were saying, and that's going to be a big test for them too. I mean, the Astros have a good roster. They had a good regular season, and Aaron Judge has showed up, broke that rookie record, and Dallas Keuchel has shown that he can throw a really good left-arm pitch. So.
Well, yeah, and we got Cubs Washington tonight, as we said. Winner of that will play the Dodgers on Saturday.
Yeah, they've been waiting now for a while, so
yeah,
well
so
rested. So they have a couple days off.
Yeah, that's going to be great news for the Dodgers. Get a couple of days, sort out your pitching rotation, figure out how that's going to work, who you're going to start. Everyone can be rested because Chicago has been forced into a Game 5 situation, and so they get that extra day off. Does the Dodgers? So. For the complete postseason schedule, just check MLB.com. There's all the information you need there. I'm really, it's hard to get excited in Canada for postseason baseball when the Jays aren't in it. If you're not already a baseball fan.
If you're already a baseball fan, yes.
Because I'm admittedly not a huge baseball fan. I don't go out of my way by any means to watch games, but I check the Jays out. I like the Jays. When the Jays made the playoffs, I'll tell you, that moment, that Batista bat flip, super controversial for some reason. Those 30 seconds, I was a baseball fan.
Oh, I think everyone in Canada was. For sure.
I was a baseball fan. That made baseball exciting, and for people to go and attack Batista for the way that he did that, it didn't make any sense to me, especially as a person who all of a sudden that made me want to watch baseball. And now you're saying that that's not how baseball should be played. Well, then I don't want to watch it. I want it to be exciting. I want the players to be passionate. I want the players to do things that are born from absolute passion, assuming they're not spewing hate speech because they're angry.
Yeah.
That's a different kind of passion that we don't like. So I don't know. I'm excited to see what happens next year for the Jays. But in the meantime, everybody's got their eye on Aaron Judge.
Everyone does. Everyone's got their eye on this kid.
And the surprising Astros. The Astros are doing really, really well. And I think there's been a
They
little bit of chatter that people are very surprised about that. So
They finished the American League at 101 victories and 61 losses, comparing that to 91 and 71 of the New York Yankees.
they're right. Like, but mind you, the argument can be made that their division isn't as strong.
That's tough. And that's another thing I wanted to ask you about, because if you look at the Cleveland Indians record at 102 and 60, I mean, how tough is their division? And I mean, the Yankees here look like the more predominantly, forget about the money, forget about the ownership, forget about all of the history and the flagship of that team. They look good. They're probably going to make a run here for a pennant.
The Yankees, absolutely. They got the squad, and as we talked about before, it wasn't like this isn't the year that they bought it. Like they've got some young guns. You know, they're absolutely spending money. Don't twist it, but
especially with the team transitioning after Derek Jeter, you know, a lot of fans from the outside looking in who are not Yankees fans, or let's say who are Yankees haters, right? Who have other fans who enjoy watching other teams, want to see this team lose, and then they probably won't see that this year because they're still having success without Jeter. They know which stars. They obviously have a good scouting staff.
Well,
because they pay
enough money to have a good everything. I don't think that there's a weak point in the Yankees front office because I mean, as much as they spend the money on the players, they're for sure spending the money on everybody that makes the surroundings work. You know, the support is there for everyone. That said, we got to move on. Let's take a short break. We'll thank some of our sponsors, and then we'll get into the yay or nay after the break. Welcome back. You are watching the CanSports 1 Hour on CanSportsOne.ca and the CS1 Network. Now we're going to do a little bit of an ad read for A Little Pizza Heaven. A Little Pizza Heaven is a locally owned Winnipeg business that's been around for over 10 years. We've grown to 3 stores and a food truck in recent years as our delicious crust has been talked about throughout the city. We make our own dough and use fresh ingredients. Come try the best pizza this side of heaven at our flagship Osborne location at 120 Osborne Street, our St. Anne's location, 160 St. Anne's Road, or our fully licensed Madison Square location, 1600 Ness Avenue. At our Madison Square location, you can enjoy the Jets game on our 65-inch screens. We have beer specials on every game. We also have happy hour Monday to Friday, 4 to 7, all day Sunday for football fans. Bring in your sports teams after your games, and a little Pizza Heaven will sponsor you. That's huge, actually.
That is huge, actually. I have to take my beer league team in there maybe for
That's
this.
What I'm saying.
I'm like,
anyway,
okay.
Let's move on. Yeah. I mean, if you got a team, bring them in. Duh. Come down and ask your server for details. All locations are open at 11 a.m. for lunch and go till late every day of the week. Check out our website for more information or to order online, alittlepizzaheaven.ca.
Mark, well, it's now time for A Little Pizza Heaven, yay or nay?
Yeah.
A Little Pizza Heaven. The best pizza this side of heaven.
And apparently they will sponsor your team. So
don't forget that.
Go do that. I don't know why you're not doing that right now.
And for our first-time viewers, this is where we decide whether we agree or disagree on the headline, hence yay or nay.
Yes. So,
Mark, you kick it off with number 1.
The Devils' partnership with the Metropolitan Riveters is a monumental step for women's hockey in North America.
I'm a yay.
I'm going to have to say yay.
Women's hockey is just continuing to grow consistently throughout the United States. It's shown that. We have women's hockey coming in here December 5th, I believe, where Canada will take on USA here at Bell MTS Place. So that alone shows that's a big event. Women's hockey, I mean, I hate to get off topic here about the Riveteers, but women's hockey was just cut from the University of North Dakota, so that was sad to see, but it's still growing throughout every university here in Canada. It's growing throughout colleges and universities in the United States, let it be at the junior college level, the NCAA Division 1, 2, or 3. So no, it's good for publicity, it's good for business on both teams, let it be for the Devils the Devils ownership group, as well as the Riveteers. I mean,
and again, I'm a yay as well. I think it's super classy of the Devils to do this. I think it's the first partnership of its kind. The Riveters are going to get a lot of exposure. There's the first ever doubleheader. The Riveters are playing against the Boston Pride, I think is the name of their team.
Something like that, yeah.
And then and here's the thing, like, I knew nothing about this league until this happened. So a professional women's hockey league, that's a big deal.
Big deal.
And the fact that, we're sports guys, I'd never heard of it until now. That's huge. I think it's huge for women's hockey. I think it's going to make a lot of really great things happen for a lot of people on both sides. I think it looks good on the NHL and the Devils for having done that partnership. I think it looks good on the Riveters for really stepping forward and trying to grow the game, knowing that the NHL is the hockey people watch in North America. That's just how it is. It's the best hockey on the continent. So it makes absolute sense to want to partner with one of those teams, and I think it's a super classy move on the Devils' part. I'm all for it.
All for it, and I was reading I saw you tweet out yesterday about that, and I followed up on the article that channeled me through the internet, and it was a great read. So no, that's a yay.
Absolutely.
All right.
Next up, Alex Ovechkin is the current NHL MVP if the season ended today.
Yay.
Okay, give me your argument.
8 goals, 4 games. I mean, that's a caliber that we haven't seen. I know it's only 4 games into the season, but you can already tell this guy's mentality is like, I got to get a goal a game here. We haven't seen that probably since Teemu Selanne's days, where he scored 76 or 72 goals in 82 games. And it's tough to score in the NHL. It's probably only gotten harder year after year since Teemu has gotten in there. You hear it from every sports radio show that guys are talking about, this is a tough league to play in, this is a tough league to skate in. So, I have to give it to him as of right now, 4 or 5 games into the season. I would definitely, hands down, give it to Alexander Ovechkin. So I'm a yay.
I'm a nay.
Okay.
I'm a nay.
All right.
I think the Washington Capitals make the playoffs and run at the President's Trophy every year. I think it should be no surprise that Alex Ovechkin is doing what he's doing. He's got a lot of help there. If I'm going to award the NHL MVP, if the season ends today, I'm giving it to Austin Matthews. That kid is something else. And, I mean, you can make the argument for Connor McDavid scoring a hat trick in the home opener, riling those Oilers fans up for the rest of the season.
Of course.
Like, they're primed now. So, but I mean, and I don't say this lightly. I am by no stretch of the imagination a Habs fan. When I watch the games, I typically I'm a Habs fan. I'm not a Leafs fan, so I don't typically cheer on the Leafs very much. But man, they're exciting to watch this year, with Mitch Marner,
Patrick Marleau. That was a veteran that a lot of people talked about that was going to help out this young
and they
core
needed
group.
that older guy, right?
But look what happened.
But I think Austin Matthews is just another kind of player. He's not like any star the Toronto Maple Leafs have ever had. I can't remember in the last 20 years, I can't remember a Toronto Maple Leafs star that is a star like the number one guy on any other team. Right?
That one
I mean,
year
if you
pro.
Phil Kessel, great player, whether you like him or not, the controversies, this, there, who cares? He's a great player. But you put him on any other team, he's not your number one guy. He's a great supporting character. You want him on your number one line, 100%. He's going to go. He's going to do the work. But he needs that little bit of something. Austin Matthews makes things happen all by himself. You can his very first game in the NHL, he played against Ottawa. He scored 4 goals. They still lost that game. Like that's. And I joked at the time, I was like, welcome to Toronto, Austin. Like, it's going to be a lot of you doing amazing things and still the team coming up a little short. But that isn't the case.
Right now, no.
Right? I'm eating my words on that because now you have, like I said, you got Mitch Marner, what's the other fellow's name?
William Nylander.
Nylander.
Yeah.
Like
Nazem Kadri's there too, so they have a good supporting
They
cast.
have an amazing squad this year. They're going to be very exciting to watch, but Austin Matthews stands out even amongst those talented players. He is head and shoulders better than all of those guys. So and I just think that's where you give your MVP medal.
Austin Matthews, and I'm an OV. All right, number 3. Carey Price is the best active goaltender in the NHL. Mark, yay or nay?
Nay.
I'm an A as well. I believe that this guy's a little bit too much talked about now. He's on the decline of his career. That injury that he suffered a couple seasons ago that ended his entire season, unfortunately, you see it in different professional sports that sometimes like one injury and that can do it and you might not be able to come back from it. I think that there's other goaltenders now who are just on the come up that might be this beyond other goaltenders being on the come up. You have to you can't beat Father Time. Carey Price, might be on the decline of his career, and we're just going to have to accept that. So I'm definitely a nay on that. He is not the best active goaltender in the NHL.
I agree with you. I'm a nay. I again, Habs fan. So I say I say this coming from that place. I want him to be the best goaltender in the NHL as a fan of the Canadians. I want them to win every game, and I want it to be on his back. But he's looking a little bit streaky lately. They don't have anything playoff-wise to show for his performances. I think a better example of who I would say is probably the best goaltender right now, Craig Anderson out of Ottawa. The guy is standing on his head. He shows up all the time. Goes through personal, some really serious personal stuff. Comes back. Doesn't skip a beat. I think that guy is the best goaltender, active goaltender in the NHL right now.
Okay. Next, number 4. The 5-0 Kansas City Chiefs are the real deal. Mark?
Yay. For sure, yay. They are the real deal. Alex Smith, I said it as soon as Alex Smith left, or I guess was forced out of San Francisco. I said it then. He is a great quarterback, and I think they made the wrong call going with Kaepernick. And as it turns out, I don't want to say I told you so, but I kind of did. So, I really think they have all the right pieces. I think they can go all the way. I see them in the Super Bowl this year.
I have to disagree. The reason why is last year we talked about when I picked the Minnesota Wild to win the Stanley Cup, and you said, well, they don't have experience winning playoff games. They only have experience winning regular season games. This 5-0 in the regular season can be something, and we saw it happen with the New England Patriots against the New York Giants, who's going to be our next question, yay or nay, just to give you an appetizer on that, is you saw the Pats lose in the Super Bowl final, and they had an undefeated season up until then.
They've lost to the Giants twice. I
don't want to believe the hype. I can see this team going into the playoffs and pulling a Winnipeg Blue Bombers and just losing it early on and just finding themselves out.
Ooh, zing on the Bombers there.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't see it. I think the Chiefs they're built right. I think Andy Reid is the guy. I think they're doing everything right. Let's just watch what happens. But I really do think they are the real deal.
All right, Mark, give him the last one here.
New York Giants, 0-5 New York Giants can still make the playoffs this year.
Yay.
Nay.
Yay, I think they can do it. I think that Eli Manning is going to somehow figure it out to find a wild card spot into the last spot and make a run for it.
I think you are delusional. I think their season's over. They're trying to figure out right now what happened, how do we stop the bleeding, then let's worry about next year. Or like, you know what I mean? Like they're not worried about the playoffs this year. Right now, if they make the playoffs, that's a giant bonus to them. Although there's something to be said for an Eli Manning with nothing to lose. But I think they've had bad starts before. But at the end of the day, he's still Eli Manning, and he still pulls it out. He takes you to the show. He beats Tom Brady.
I know he beats Tom Brady.
I get you there, but I think 0-5 is just too big of a deficit to come back and make the playoffs. I think if they end up in a wild card spot, they will be the luckiest team in all of football. I mean, is there a guy you trust more to do it than Eli Manning? Maybe not. Coming from behind again, they've had some rough starts in their seasons before, but I think 0-5 is just too much to overcome.
Nay, yay for that one. Do we have time for number 6?
Let's do, if we do it quickly, absolutely.
Should Steve Mason be the starter for the Winnipeg Jets despite his early struggles? Nay.
No?
Nay.
Why not?
I just don't think this guy's had a really winning record with any team that he's already played for. I think he's more so of an AHL goalie. They should probably send him down for probably maybe about 10 or 15 games. Just let him get a little bit loose, let him get some experience there at a different speed. And no, I don't think he was very successful in Philadelphia coming into Winnipeg. So no, I don't think he should be the starter.
I disagree. I say yay. I say put him in. Cheveldayoff brought him in, signed an $8.2 million deal, banking on him being the guy. You need to play him now. Right? This is because if you don't, Cheveldayoff looks really bad. And if you do and he's terrible, then it's no loss for Cheveldayoff. It's no loss on the contract. But you've paid this guy. You've put your money on the table. The wheel's spun. You've already put your money on the table. You can't take that bet back now. Right?
Yeah.
You gotta play it out. You gotta see how it finishes. You can't throw $8.2 million away. I want to see Hellebuck play a lot of games this year. I think him playing the other day was great, especially the fact that they won. But I think you got to put Steve Mason in for the next one. I think you have to let him play out the season. And I think that if the Winnipeg Jets are doing themselves any justice at this point, they do that. Because if you want Hellebuck to be your guy going forward, which I believe that most of the fans and the organization have sort of postured like they do, you want Mason to take the brunt of this season, put it on his shoulders, and get you there. You sign 2 years, let Hellebuck continue to develop underneath a guy who's done a lot of work. He's a 9-season veteran of the league, is Steve Mason. I say put him in. You paid the money. You put your bet down. It's too late now to renege. So let's move on.
All right. We're going to have to take a quick break here now and pause for station ID.
Absolutely. You're watching the CanSports 1 Hour on the CanSports1.ca and the CS1 Network. Welcome back. Time for another ad read. This time it's New Spades Sound and Entertainment. Take it away, Narv.
Yes, New Spades Sound and Entertainment, bringing the noise. If you need a DJ, hit up New Spades Sound and Entertainment, www.newspades.ca. Let New Spades hook you up with amazing sound for your next wedding, wedding social, barbecue, graduation, pool party, or patio party. We would also like to thank everyone who participated in our most recent Instagram contest. Stay tuned to the website, www.newspades.ca, and check us out on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at New Spades Sound for upcoming contests and promotions. Check us out online at www.newspades.ca today. New Spades Sound Entertainment, bringing the noise. Well, it's time for the local league update of the week, brought to you by New Spades Sound and
New Spades Sound and Entertainment.
Can I just? Well, that's gonna.
We say it a lot.
All
New
right.
Spades Sound and Entertainment, bringing the noise.
New Spades Sound and Entertainment, bringing the noise. This week we will have a look at the MJHL. Mark, the MJHL, being the Manitoba Junior Hockey League, is probably one of the most preeminent feeder leagues for the WHL here in Manitoba, with a lot of NHL alumni as well, such as Shane Knighty, Ryan Garbutt, just to name a few. A lot of these players, if they don't go on to play in the AHL or get drafted by the WHL, U Sports, formerly the CIS, some players move on to different levels and different tiers of NCAA hockey in the United States. And just before we went to air, this is a league here that the MJHL is the oldest junior hockey league in the country, and it falls under the western zone of the Canadian Junior Hockey League. Players in this league range from ages 16 to 20, but most often they are at least 18 years old. But does that make sense? Like, is that an actual? I mean, I'm pulling this up here on a juniorhockeybook.com. You were saying that's the exact same age as the Western Hockey League.
Yeah, well, yeah. You got 16-year-olds to 19-year-olds playing in the WHL. The youngest being 16. I think you can have one or two overagers in the CHL rules. You can have one or two 20-year-olds. I'm not really sure how that works anymore, or if that's a thing there. But yeah, that's the age range for the CHL, which is the WHL, the OHL, and the QMJHL. That's the umbrella there.
The umbrella there, and I mean the MJHL, is in their 99th season now, being founded in 1918. So they've had very much success with 11 teams now playing in the league. Obviously, they've had defunct teams come in and not really work out. The Winnipeg Blues, being the most successful club with 17 championships, and the Portage Terriers recently have been the most dominant team in the last decade or so, with the amount of championships that they've won and the players that they've been able to produce.
Absolutely, there's a lot of talent in Manitoba as far as hockey is concerned. So it's no surprise that the hockey passionate Manitobans have had this league running for the longest. It would be a league that, where do you call your players up if you're the CHL, right? You get guys that are hurt, that can't play. Where do you call them up from? The MJHL would be one of those leagues, right? So
and you see it time and
based
time
on
again.
Players' rights.
Yes, and there's currently 11 teams here: the Dauphin Kings, the Neepawa Natives, the OCN Blizzard, Portage Terriers, Selkirk Steelers, Steinbach Pistons, Swan Valley Stampeders, Verdun Oil Capitals, Wayway Capo Wolverines, Winkler Flyers, and again the Winnipeg Blues, who are the most successful team in the league at 17 championships. So this league has a long history of success, so there's nothing that they're shy of when producing talent and high caliber NHL hockey players that can keep fans here in Manitoba entertained regardless of the AHL. Like you said, I mean, some of these kids are going to go on and be the future one day, and if you can have an opportunity to see them at the grassroots level before they go on pro, like, why not?
Absolutely. I mean, it's one of those. There's a lot of unknown leagues in the entire country. Canada's got so much hockey that it's amazing, but it's also, because there's so much of it, easy to miss certain leagues. And just to that point, let's remind our viewers, if you want your league to be the feature of the week, you can contact us on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram at CanSportsOne. So definitely go ahead and do that. But back to that point, yes, there's so much hockey. It's easy to miss it, but there is a lot of talent in in the country. So the caliber of hockey isn't going to be the NHL, but they're still kids
Who are good.
who are good. They're the call-ups for, as we mentioned, the CHL. So the Brandon Wheat Kings would call up from this league, or a league of its ilk. So that's it's a pretty exciting place to live, having 11 of these teams in the oldest junior hockey league in the country. That's pretty exciting news for Manitobans. So if you have a story that's similar to that, please share it with us on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook at CanSportsOne, and we would like to talk about it next week.
And these kids are, having an extensive travel schedule, traveling all over the province at about 5 games a night from Tuesday to Saturday. And on the week, Sundays, I've noticed the schedule does kind of take a break where there's maybe only 1 or 2 games. But, you got to give it to these kids, practice and then travel. And then on top of that, some of these kids probably have on top of that, school, forget about part-time jobs if that's what they want. But they have to keep up with schoolwork and so on. So you got to hand it to these kids who are really trying to, make it pro and get things done for themselves and, have a successful junior hockey career. And the MJHL is probably a good place to do it. And we're, fans in Winnipeg who like hockey, don't take these kids for granted. Come out. They need that support too. And before you know it, you'll see one of those last names that you saw in an MJHL jersey with a WHL, AHL, and potentially an NHL one. You've seen it time and time again. Shane Knighty brought back the Stanley Cup to Nipawa, and while he played for the Nipawa Natives. So,
absolutely. Thank you very much for featuring that for us, Narv.
Yeah.
We're going to move on for a little bit here. We have another little piece. The NBA season. Let's talk real briefly about that.
The NBA season. Yesterday we saw that the Toronto Raptors crushed the Detroit Pistons in their preseason matchup. So that's a good start for them. We talked about this with the NHL, saying that the preseason, to me, is just as important. You find out what works and what doesn't. And
I put no stock in wins and losses in the preseason in any sport that I watch. The reason you play preseason games is to really figure out how your lineups are going to match up. Coaches shouldn't be worried about winning and losing in the preseason. I know fans get upset when you lose because you pay for the tickets to go see the games. It's upsetting. I totally get it, but you can't pay attention to wins and losses. And the NBA is no different. I really like that the Raptors won, but they were doing something. Obviously, they were looking to do something in that preseason game. And some teams do use the preseason to try and build that momentum up to game one. There's different ways to look at it, but you can't put too much stock on it, because just because your team is looking to win every preseason game, so they're ready to go for game one, that doesn't mean that your opponents are doing the same thing. They might be playing their second stringers. They might be resting guys. They might be looking at third stringers just to see how are they going to hold up if we end up having to call them up? Who are going to be our guys? Who's reliable? Who makes good decisions on the court against these really good actual NBA players? Because it's hard until you put them in that situation. It's hard to tell. The preseason is for that. It is not for wins and losses. That is my caveat going into this.
Let's keep it in Toronto there, almost the connection there with Andrew Wiggins, who just signed a 5-year extension almost worth $150 million with the Minnesota Timberwolves. So the Toronto product, who was the number 1 draft pick, went to the Cleveland Cavaliers, ended up getting traded to the Minnesota Timberwolves. And the 22-year-old looks like he's going to have a lot of loonies in his future.
We have the power rankings. We'll read off the top 10, and you tell me if there's any surprises.
All right.
Because there already is for me. Okay?
Okay, let's go.
Power rankings, strongest to weakest. We'll do the top 10, which, by the way, the Raptors are number 11, so they're not in the top 10. Okay? And then
There's hope.
This is an ESPN power ranking, just for the record. We did not do the power ranking ourselves, so do not be upset at us. We're reporting the news here. Warriors, number 1. Any shock?
No, of course.
No shock. Number 2, the Rockets.
Yes.
You're shocked?
Highly shocked.
How do you not put the Cavaliers number 2?
That too.
The Harden Paul experiment?
The Harden Paul. Yeah, exactly. James Harden may be this elite scorer and this and that, but he just takes way too many shots, himself. And then Chris Paul, I don't know why people are so still into Chris Paul. Like, Chris Paul has been done for years. He was done before he showed up for the Los Angeles Clippers. He had no success there. Yes, he may be an elite point guard in the sense of statistics and so on, but unfortunately, he hasn't led a team anywhere deep in the playoff run. He just hasn't. They've been first or second round playoff exits. He would have fit in way better in the San Antonio system with Greg Popovich, and he would probably won a title if he played his career out in San Antonio instead of finding himself now in Houston under Mike D'Antoni's system.
But Mike D'Antoni also said that, like, he talked about the Rockets being the best offensive team ever.
Offense sells tickets, defense wins championships, and I don't think that they should be number 2. Who's number 3?
Cavaliers.
Cavaliers, yeah. So they should be number 2. Who was number 4?
Okay, let's go back to the list here. Hold on. Wait, pause. Let's go back to the Rockets. The Rockets, can Paul and Harden, like, can they coexist
No.
together?
No. Chris Paul takes just as many shots as many times as he makes a person. If Chris Paul is going to get 14 assists, he's definitely getting 28 points to go along with that. He's not a 15, 15, and 9 guy. Chris Paul is an elite scorer himself who's going to have to score at least 30 points for this team. And it's not because that puts them in a position to win. That's just the type of player that Chris Paul is.
Okay, so do you think that that's going to affect the way that him and Harden can play together?
Oh.
Can they play together?
No, because James Harden takes way too many shots himself.
So you don't think that they can come together and figure out how they're going to win?
Nope.
Okay, fair enough. So Cavaliers is number 3. Number 4, the Spurs.
I agree with them. I pick them to be in the Final Four, the conference finals every year. Their coaching with Greg Popovich wins. It wins. It shows that it wins. He knows what to do. He's almost like the Joe Montana of coaching, just always knows how to stay calm, because you don't see a calm coach like that anymore since Phil Jackson has retired. And Phil Jackson's been out of the game now for a long time, and Greg Popovich is probably going to continue coaching for at least another 5 to 10. I mean, you can already see that. So
Yeah, he's not going anywhere.
no, he's not going anywhere. So if the power rankings come out at them at number 4, I'll respect it, but I still put them higher than that.
You put them higher than
I put them higher. I put them
So
right
you-
behind the Warriors at number 2.
Really? You got Warriors, Spurs, Cavaliers.
Cavaliers will stay at 3 because LeBron,
And then you're moving the Rockets to 4.
yeah, Rockets need to go down there. I mean, I wouldn't even put them in the top 10. The Raptors are going to take care
Really?
of them. The Raptors are going to take care of the Rockets.
Okay, now I think you're just being argumentative.
I don't want it to seem that way. I just don't.
No, I know. I
really-
that's fair. No faith.
Yeah, no faith in them.
I think you might eat your words by the mid-season. By
Okay.
about mid-season, you might be eating your words on that. But
All right.
well, let's move on. The Clippers, number 5.
I like them too. Again, they're coaching with Lawrence Frank as assistant and Doc Rivers. Doc Rivers has won titles already, and he knows how to get a group of guys to focus on one thing. And if he can focus that, I don't think that they deserve to be at number 5. But
I'm a little surprised.
I'm surprised
they're
they're that high.
Yeah,
I
but
don't think that they are any better than the Toronto Raptors. They're just as equally as competitive in the West as the Raptors are in the East.
I mean, let's be fair to the people who made the power rankings. The season hasn't started yet. There's been a lot of movement,
On
lot of
paper,
player movement.
Exactly.
So really, you're at this point you're putting stats together based on could be's. So we'll give them a little bit of leeway there, but I don't see how you put the Cavaliers underneath the Rockets. I don't see that. But anyway, moving on. The Bucks at 6. Milwaukee.
That one ceases to me. I don't know. That one runs away from me a lot. Jabari Parker. I mean, who do they really have?
Well, they're one of those like sneaky teams that are always in there.
Why is Boston not in there? They were one of the first. They had the best record.
Boston's
in the East,
listed here as 16.
and they just got Kyrie Irving. They had that Gordon Hayward as well. And I mean, how can you not put them up there? I mean, the Pelicans might have a good season with Anthony Davis and DeMarcus Cousins on the low post. That's almost like the 2015 generation of David Robinson and Tim Duncan, only a little bit more like in your face.
So number 7, the Nuggets.
Ooh, I don't get that either. Like, the Thunder is another team that I compare to the Houston Rockets. They have another guy who takes too many shots.
Well,
Carmelo
but
Anthony.
OKC at 8. I think that's a little low, don't you?
I think it's right where they need to be.
Really? You
Carmelo
think that one's right?
Yeah, Carmelo Anthony and James Harden to me are the same player. Carmelo Anthony is a huge cancer to a team. He couldn't get it done in Denver, and then they shipped him off to New York where he's originally from. So you would think that being from New York, that would kind of help out his career. All right, statistically, he may have had a lot of good years, but he's never had a good, decent playoff run. He doesn't have a title. He won a national title with Syracuse in 2003, got drafted as the number 2 pick, wasn't right behind LeBron James. And, okay, like, no one really remembers number 2, and he hasn't won a title. And now thinks that he's not going to make Paul George and Russell Westbrook look good. They're going to make him look so much better.
So
it's that team is Paul George, Russell Westbrook, and Carmelo Anthony. He's just kind of going to be there, who's going to maybe get a few dunks and want to shoot his threes because that's what he likes to do, and he misses a lot of them. He's not a reliable player. He will shoot a team straight into a loss, so they're right where they are. Keep them right where they are.
Okay. Number 9, the Timberwolves. Wiggins.
Okay, Wiggins.
Towns.
His extension.
They just picked up Gibson and Jimmy Butler.
I'm a huge Jimmy Butler fan. I've been following his career since high school. Wherever he goes, that team has a potential to be very, very successful. At number 9, I have to keep them right where they are. If you think about it, Jimmy Butler is going to come into a system where Tom Thibodeau is coaching now, and that's only going to help Andrew Wiggins ease into that even more. They've obviously sold out to Wiggins. They've obviously sold out to Tom. The Minnesota Timberwolves are heading in the right direction. Number 9, they're that team that you were saying to me that the Bucks might be a team that I'm sleeping on. Well, I think that those are the Wolves for me.
Okay, fair. So last and not least, the Heat, listed at number 10.
Are they still even relevant?
I
asked myself this question the day LeBron James left. Is anyone still a Miami Heat fan?
They barely missed the playoffs last year. They don't have a superstar. They signed James Johnson at $60 million. They signed Josh Richardson at $42 million.
Josh Richardson, wow.
Dion Waiters at $52 million.
That guy's been bouncing around for different teams. He played with LeBron in Cleveland.
But they don't have a superstar, right?
No.
Like that's. Let me do the math on that. That's 112 for $154 million on 3 players that are not a superstar. That's a lot.
That's a lot of money on your payroll to be
saying.
giving out to people. Excuse me.
But I mean, like
Joe Johnson got a big payday from Atlanta. He got a big payday out in Brooklyn. Now he's on his 3rd big paycheck in Miami. Like, when's the faith in Joe Johnson going to stop? I mean, he hasn't produced. I mean, they don't win and they don't have titles. He doesn't have titles.
Fair. That's fair. Let's move. Let's switch gears altogether. Raptors number 11. Can't believe that. Anyway, right now we're going to do a quick station ID, and we're going to read our thank you to our sponsors, and then we're going to move on to our next segment. Sounds good? So you are watching the CanSports 1 Hour on CanSports1.ca and the CS1 network.
Special thanks to our sponsors once again today, the CanSportsOne Foundation, helping kids play organized sports, New Spades Sound and Entertainment, bringing the noise, A Little Pizza Heaven, the best pizza this side of heaven.
That brings us to the sports pages, brought to you by the CanSportsOne Foundation. The CanSportsOne Foundation, helping kids play organized sports. So some headlines worth noting this week.
So we have a few noteworthy discussions here that we wanted to talk to you about. So Mark, let's start with number 1. Brazil, after Brazil, the Olympics, the U.S. athletes have been diagnosed now with West Nile, not Zika. Either way, Mark, this is is it a life-threatening disease, or either way,
it can be.
It can be.
Absolutely, if it's not treated properly. It's often fatal in places that don't have proper care, things of that nature. It is not, I think, as serious as Zika, which causes birth defects and all the rest. There's a lot of things that does for you, but the treatment of it is easier than Zika, but unfortunately,
and that's the sad part about all.
Which is funny. All the U.S. people, they went there thinking, "Oh, Zika's the thing." Remember Hope Solo, the U.S. women's national goaltender for the soccer team? She she got in a lot of trouble for some of her comments about staying safe, and she posted a picture of herself in Brazil wearing full like beekeeper suits to keep the bugs off her, with like a bed full of just bug sprays and things of that nature, and I think that she got in a little bit of trouble for that. But that was what people were worried about, was Zika. That was all that was in the news at the time. So it's you want to say funny, but you don't mean ha funny. It's just like
No.
it's a little odd that they come out of there having been prepared for all these mosquito-borne diseases, and yet still managed to come out of there with a lot of mosquito-borne diseases. So
Why are we only hearing about U.S.? Have you heard any other countries report any of this?
well, the U.S. unfortunately dominate the media. There haven't been any reports from other countries of that. So more will come on that. We won't touch too much on it today. But the question, I think, really is, should this type of issue change the selection process for host countries or events like the Olympics or the World Cup, etc.? Do they need to look
at other things? I know, like, and those countries are like beautiful places in the world that like people want to see and things like that. Something a little fishy here with the U.S. being the only country coming out with this.
Well, I think they're the most vocal and they're media dominant. So we'll do a little bit more research
and keep you updated on that, because this one's touching a little closer to home there with that. So
yeah, absolutely. So
Mark, Eric Reed becomes the voice of the 49ers protests with criticism of Pence. Well, everyone knows about this national anthem and everything like that. And yesterday I saw a headline on Sportsnet, excuse me, about now there being a new rule of you having to stand for the national anthem. You know, we're sick of talking about it. You and I talked about this before.
we were going to touch on it super briefly.
It's not about the flag. It's like the national anthem, the flag. Okay. I just have to ask you this. Like, I understand people are upset with what's going on in the sense of, like, the racial profiling with the African-American community, as well as the, we're not even talking about the disrespect that the American Hispanic or Hispanic American community might be seeing, as well as the Latins there. So why does the national anthem at sporting event have to be the benchmark to what is going to make a difference? That's what I'm confused about now.
The problem is, in order to bring up any kind of issue, you have to get eyes on it. And in all seriousness, everyone's eyes in the United States of America are on football.
They do.
And so that's why it's such a pivot point. And athletes are just now figuring out that can be the vessel for their message. That can be the medium they use to get the word out about these injustices and talk about the issues that they want to talk about. So, I don't know if you heard, but Pence went to a football game and literally left the game.
That was a very big headline. That made networks all over the place. So that alone sets the tone that this is going to keep going on. So politicians, like you said here, why are they twisting it? So it's just, I can't believe that the national anthem is a benchmark. I think that this should have been addressed way before Obama left office. Like, I think that the president is the one who can have the magnitude to make a difference with that. And I don't think either of them made the right decisions in the sense of handling this. I mean, Obama was in office, I'm sounding like a politician, was in office for 8 years, right? And, like, this is still going on now. So, here, let's twist it back to sports here, to what politicians are going to twist it. Let the sportscaster twist it. Mark, where do you draw the line when people are walking in main concourses of arenas in line for concessions such as beer, hot dogs, and other alcoholic beverages during the national anthem?
Absolutely,
so
it's okay for them to do that, but it can't but an African American football player can't at all kneel, or else he'd better. I don't know. It's just the double standard.
Yeah, it leaves everyone confused, and like. You see it, and like up until all this stuff, I was one of those individuals who was in line at that, and I said, well, okay, you're going to need to stop when you're in the concourse and just go get it after.
Yeah, well, what I've done is, because I've been caught, you show up to the game late, you're just trying to grab your things and get to your seat, and all of a sudden you hear the anthem start. I've been in line where you rip off the hat, you just stand there, And I just
2
wait.
minutes. That's okay.
Not even.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, come on. Also, the Penguins did go to see the man. They kept away from all politics talk. But
I don't know. Like, we talked about this before. I don't even remember on my yay or nay if I was yay or nay for it. But, seeing it actually happen, and I saw that yesterday when they had the press conference there, it didn't feel wrong. It didn't feel like...
Well, and again, it comes back to the Penguins didn't do it to be subversive. They literally did it not because of Trump, but because of the tradition of winning and going to the White House. The office he holds, not the man who's sitting in the chair. So that, and I get that, and for them that was their statement of, this is not about politics. We are not going to see Trump. We are not going because of Trump.
We're going because we won the Stanley Cup.
We're going because we won the Stanley Cup, and we are invited by the White House, and that's what we do. That is what has always been. Let's continue to do that. So it's a status quo move on their part, and I don't know that I support it, but I'm not necessarily against it either. That is a personal opinion and a free speech thing where do what you want to do. They're not hurting anyone by doing it. They didn't go there and say, well, we did it, so you better. Like, it wasn't about that for them. They were invited, they accepted, they went. End of story. Let's move on.
Sounds good. Last one here. Big Ben after 5 interceptions. Big headline. Maybe I don't have it anymore. Well, so what if you don't have it anymore? You had a good, successful career. You got a couple Super Bowls. You weren't a passenger on a team. You're a Hall of Famer, buddy.
Yeah, absolutely. And, after he slept on it, he did come back out and say, I am the best. I'm one of the best, if not the best at what I do. I have to have that confidence. I know I can get the job done. All of those things. He did come back out and say all those things. So you have to think that it was just emotions after a game running high. It was just... that was a really bad game for them. That was literally his worst game of all time. Zero touchdown passes, 5 interceptions. That was literally his worst statistical game of all time. You come out of that, I'd be a little shaky in my confidence too. I'd be upset at myself, especially where he is the leader of a team. The quarterback is the linchpin there.
Yeah.
Right? Without a good quarterback, it doesn't matter how good any of your other players on your team are. So I totally get him being upset about it after the game. He did come back and sort of turn that around. But
Guy's 35 years old. He's drafted 2004, round 1, pick 11. He's been in the league since, 2004 is a long time ago now. A lot of close friends of mine, even sports fans, love saying the NFL doesn't stand for National Football League, stands for not for long. And he's been in the league for a long time now. It's 2017. If this is the first time we're going to see a sign of decline in his career, I think more so if you're the biggest Ben fan, you're going to be okay with that. Yeah. I mean, 2-time Super Bowl champion, 5-time Pro Bowl, NFL passing yards co-leader in 2014. So I mean, this guy, he's nothing short of a Hall of Famer. He's nothing short of success. And I wouldn't, if it's time for him, if he doesn't have it anymore, I think that he should be okay with that. There's some guys in sports who overstay their welcome. Like Brett Favre, overstayed his welcome too many years.
Absolutely. And I say that, I always let me know what my affiliations are so the bias doesn't leak through. But I am a Packers fan, loved Brett Favre as a Packer. When it was his time to go, and they sort of pushed him out in favor of Aaron Rodgers, love the guy and love what he did for the organization, but that was time. It was time. And I really think, I don't know. I really think that, like you said, it was his time to go, and he just didn't go. But you got 190 games under your belt as a starting QB in the NFL, one of the hardest leagues to continue to play at that level for, as you said, 3,924 completions. How many? I gotta find his interceptions.
There's nothing I can.
167 interceptions thrown in 190 games. That's less than one a game. That's pretty good.
Good, Ben. That's
pretty
okay.
good. Throwing 5 in one game, I can totally see, knowing that those are his stats. He's played 5 games this year and has 7 interceptions. 5 of those were in one game. One game does not a career make, Ben. Calm down. You'll get there.
Okay. Like, before you know it, he might even surprise us all, and he might be the guy in the Super Bowl. You never
right.
know.
Well,
do we have time for number 4,
we
Mark?
do not. We do not. We have to go. But we'll put a pin in that one for next week. This has been the CanSports 1 Hour on CanSports1.ca and the CS1 Network. Thank you so much for joining us. On behalf of my co-host, Narv Mulchan, Technical Director Jordan Proctor, and myself, Mark Adam, thank you so much for watching.